morning, YouTube. So today we are working on trying to finish up the majority of the components for our water system for the house. And we've got it's probably something you've never seen before, but it's tested and trued. I have a buddy that's been doing this. I helped them set up the system for their well when they moved into their new house. They had a ton of silt coming in where the well had sat unused for 4 or 5 years, and it would plug up all the faucets and the toilet within minutes of the water running. So I had the idea of using a swimming pool sand filter because a regular household filter would also plug up immediately. So we had some trial and error with that. I ended up building a custom stainless sand filter for him because a regular swimming pool filter isn't made to withstand pressure. It's not really a pressurized system. The water just flows through it. So I built a stainless steel sand filter for him out of a keg, stainless steel beer keg, and that worked out awesome. So he's been using that for like 6 or 7 years now. I don't think he's ever even back flushed the system, and it's been good. So on our system, we're just going to use a regular pool filter because we got to disarm this alarm system. We're going to use a regular pool filter because our system will not be pressurized. So this is going to go, we're going to be filling our water tank, 1,000-gallon tank from our pond, our new pond. And there's about 1,000-foot trench with pipe in it, water pipe, that'll fill that tank up. There's a float valve in there, and we'll show all that here in a minute. And we're going to put the swimming pool sand filter right before the water goes into the tank. So if there is any debris that gets through basically the filter that'll be in the pond, the screen, like algae or mud or whatever, that swimming pool filter should filter out all of the large gunk. And then since it's going into a 1,000-gallon tank before it gets used, it'll even have more time to settle out into the bottom of the tank before it comes into the house, in which case we have like 10 different filters for as well. So today we have to build a box that's going to go in the ground to go around our water filter because, oh no, got to go around to open the door. We got to build a box because I don't want to bury that water filter. One, I need to be able to back flush it every once in a while so we can clean the sand out. And two, if something ever goes wrong, that thing goes bad or it starts leaking, I don't want to have to dig the whole thing back up, mostly by hand, to get that big sand filter out of it. That thing probably weighs 200 pounds. And here in Ohio, it's got to be about 3 feet deep so it doesn't freeze. So we're going to build a big wooden pressure-treated box that'll go down on the ground. The filter will sit inside of it, and then we'll just backfill all around that. So that's the project for today. I am over here at our neighbor's property. They have bought the place about a year ago. 54 acres, beautiful land. But this is just like a weekend home for them. And really it's more like a 1 weekend a year or a 1 weekend a month type home. And they're only here for like a few hours. So we've been pretty much maintaining the property. I've done all the work, some renovations on the house even. And I build custom handrails as a side business for residential staircases. And we don't have a shop yet. I've got a ton of tools and equipment that are pretty much sitting in storage that I haven't had a place to put. And they have a beautiful brand new basement underneath of this modular home that they're never even going to come down here. They literally said they'll never even walk down in the basement. So he said I could use it to at least get me through the winter until we get the house and then the accompanying garage built. So today I'm going to grab my tools, get my saw set up in here, my miter saw. We've got a whole bunch of pressure-treated 5/4 lumber and some 4x4s for the corners. I'm going to get all those cut up and we'll build this box. All right, the board fits. You always want to make sure that the project you're building will fit through the door. It's a 36-inch door, so I cut it about 34 inches, just to make sure we got plenty of clearance to go through. There's only like a normal man door. It's a walkout basement, fortunately, so we're good. We've got to cut like 10. We've got to cut 40 of these. Here we go. Alright, for those of you that don't know, if you're doing any kind of work with pressure treated lumber, you have to use a special screw. There's really three main types that you need to use, and the reason being is because the chemicals that they use to pressure treat the lumber, they can eat the coating, the zinc coating, off of a regular screw, and then that screw will start to deteriorate, it'll rust, and then obviously these are long-term problems. You can have fasteners that'll start snapping from rust issues. So the three main types are either hot dip galvanized, has to be hot dipped galvanized, not just the cheaper galvanized or zinc coated ones. Coated, these have a special coating on. It's like some kind of powder coating, I think. And then also stainless steel. Stainless steel being the best, but also the most costly. So we've got these by Deckmate. These are 2.5 inchers. We're going to go ahead and run a bunch in. All right, there we go, 5 feet tall. Now we got to make a quick lid for it. All right, here's our pit for the tank that we dug a few weeks ago. We haven't backfilled it yet because we want to make sure everything was leak-free and watertight. So that box, fortunately I left myself enough room unknowingly to put that box right here. That'll also give us access to the bottom of, I'll have to unbury it, but there is the line that comes out of the bottom of the tank that goes to the house. That'll actually give me access to that. If that line ever goes bad or it leaks at the bottom of the tank fitting, I'll actually be able to crawl down into this hole. The box is 3 by 3 feet, so I'll be able to get down in there no problem. We'll pull that big sand filter out and I can fix that leak. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all this dirt cleared out right here. It's mostly loose, this is pretty much all caved in. And then we'll get that box and get it leveled up. 10, 12 foot 5/4 boards, and everything is soaking wet still. Man, that's perfect. Oh yeah, that looks good. So far there's not a single piece of limestone gravel down in our pit. That's awesome. Alright, now before I go much higher with the gravel, we've got a couple big holes where the ribs in the tank are and the side of this. Honestly, I think I'm going to try to use some of that great stuff expanding foam. I might just try to wedge like a big rock or something. No, I don't want to use a rock. I don't want anything that could settle over time and puncture the tank. I think I'm just going to try to fill it up with a whole bunch of that great stuff. I'll let it set up for a few hours, and hopefully that'll be enough to withstand the load bearing, have the load bearing for the gravel. Because I don't want that gravel running down, because then it will start filling up to the bottom of that trench. Probably about half my load of gravel so far. One of the main reasons I'm backfilling with gravel, it was to save cost, really. I probably should have built this box out of 2x material, 1.5 inch thick, which is a little bit thicker than this, not quite twice, but that definitely would have withstood more pressure with side loads. I'm not at all concerned about this. I think this is going to be more than enough, especially for no further than this thing's buried. But for peace of mind, and as well as drainage, if this thing does leak, or when I back flush that tank, the filter, it's going to put quite a bit of water out. So I'll put some water or some gravel in the bottom of this pit here, and that'll at least give it something to like percolate through and drain out, so I don't have just standing water in this mud. Because this is clay, it holds water pretty well. It doesn't really percolate too quickly like a sandy soil would. So I think I'm going to reposition the workman on this side as best I can and try to get some gravel in here, and then probably have to hand shovel a lot on the back side, but so far so good. You know, something I just thought as I'm getting this thing level, and it's almost perfect. We might be able to use this temporarily for a like a small root cellar of sorts. I could probably, because that pool filter is only about this big around. We could kind of utilize the corners and then everything above that pool filter. I mean, 70% of this box is going to be open space that we'll have to insulate, of course, at the top anyway. But this might be a really good root cellar. It should be relatively dry. It's going to be, you know, this is 5 feet deep in the ground to the bottom. The top of this is almost perfectly level with the ground. Yep. That would be kind of cool. You know, we could hang some potatoes or whatever in this thing. It's a little bit of a jog from the house, but for long-term storage, might be pretty cool. All right, let's get some great stuff. Alright, we'll see how that does. That was not ideal. The candle's kind of messed up. It had already been used, so pretty much had to break the whole seal. And then we just jammed some mud down in the big holes to fill them, otherwise this stuff just falls through. But I think it's going to work. We'll let it set up a couple hours and expand, then I'll come back and we'll fill it back in. Alright, decided to go a little overboard. It's probably not necessary, but I've got it laying around. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this top 3 feet in some tar paper, just to make sure that we don't have any water when I get to the sides. Really shouldn't anyway, because it's going to be all backfill and explain the top half. But I've got it, so I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to run some aluminum flashing around the very, very top where the lid goes on. So, let's get started. Alright guys, last night we kind of ran out of daylight and it was time to get in the tree stand, but we did get our felt paper on. We got the top taped off. This is going to be pretty good. This was more of an afterthought. I kind of wish I would have done the tar paper all the way to the bottom, but this was probably overkill anyway for this. I don't think we should have much issue with drainage because this is all clay around here, so we'll make sure we pack it down. The rest of this is going to get filled with clay. We'll pack it down real good. And as long as it has a little bit of a mound to it or a slope, which this is on a hillside anyway, we really shouldn't get much that's percolating through that top layer anyway. But for even more overkill, we've got some aluminum flashing that I had laying around. So I'm just going to go ahead and flash like the top 10 inches all the way around, just because I think a little bit of it, an inch or two, is going to be exposed. And I don't want the weed eater or the mower tearing up this tar paper, because then it'd be all for nothing. So we're going to go ahead and get this stuck on got most of our backfilling done. Still got quite a bit of grading work we'll have to do around this, but right now we're waiting on a riser for the tank. This is about 18 inches too low right now. You can see there's a big hole right here. This would be bad. Water would just run right through the ground and we'd get groundwater runoff inside of our tank because the lids don't seal perfect. So we've got an 18-inch riser coming, which will put it about the same height as this. Once we get that on, then we'll be able to backfill around this properly, and then we'll grade everything out. You want this to be about the highest spot. So basically it'll be mounted off, and then some of this will have to even get cut back, and then we'll use this pile to grade the rest of it out real nice. But that pretty much takes care of most of that for now. I think really the last thing we need to do is bring our filter tank over here. The whole reason we did all of this and set it down in our pit here